Out now on Blu-ray from the inaugural release, I should say, from Red Shirt Home Video and Diabolic DVD is After Effects, Memories of Pittsburgh Filmmaking from 2002. This is actually a new expanded edition, limited edition of the After Effects documentary. This was a documentary that was originally done by Michael Felsher at Red Shirt Pictures for the DVD release of the movie Effects, which was a film shot in the late 70s in and around Pittsburgh that was done by people who were George Romero adjacent, shall we say. So you've got Joe Pilato is in the movie, who would go on to be in Day of the Dead. You've got Tom Savini in the film. You've got one of the people behind the film was Pasquale Buba, who was editor and did a lot of tech work, behind the scenes crew work for George Romero films. So it's a lot of people who are fellow independent filmmakers in Pittsburgh at the same time as Romero, who he had worked with or who had worked with him. And Effects is a really good movie. I'm not really going to talk about Effects here, but Effects was released by Arrow Home Video on Blu-ray. And it's this film that's about, it's a film crew that's out shooting an independent horror movie out in the woods somewhere in the Pittsburgh area, and things take a very, very dark turn. It's quite good, and it's a movie that never really got much of a release until Synapse put it out on DVD. The main extra on that Synapse DVD was the original version of After Effects. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about this version of After Effects. So originally, After Effects, Memories of Pittsburgh Filmmaking, was about an hour-long documentary about the making of the film Effects. This has been expanded to about 75 minutes, about another 15 minutes for this Blu-ray version. It's presented in 4:3 because that's how the original material was shot. And this is really good. I will say, I don't know how much of an impact this documentary would have on a viewer who has not seen Effects, because it's really predominantly about the making of the film Effects, but it does sort of reverberate outward from that a little bit to talk about, as the title says, Memories of Pittsburgh Filmmaking. So basically the basic genesis of this documentary was that people who made the movie Effects back in, like, I guess 1979, 78, somewhere in there, got together many years later, early 2000s, for a chat around a pool. I guess there were two shoots. There was a shoot in LA with other people who lived there, and they were sitting poolside and just shooting the breeze and talking about the memories of making this film and the memories of what it was like to be a filmmaker, independent filmmaker in Pittsburgh in the late 70s. George Romero is part of this, and he talks about what it was like shooting commercials. And you see some clips from these commercials. And the Buba, I think it was called. It was this group that Pasquale Buba and the other guys who made this film, Effects, I should say, they had this little company, much like George Romero did with The Latent Image. They had this little company that shot commercials and industrials and documentaries and short films and all that. And Effects was going to be their big first feature film. So you do get a sense of what it was like for that gang of people who worked on each other's projects all the time to be, working actors, filmmakers, editors, all of that in Pittsburgh in the late 70s. But then the majority of it is the experience of making the film Effects. And you do have the actors and you do have the crew involved. And it's really good, but I just have to say that if you have not seen Effects, you might not find it quite as interesting, because it is so much about that. As I said, shot 4:3. Apparently it was shot by one of the original filmmakers of Effects, all of this footage, and it was an LA shoot, and then it was a Pittsburgh shoot, and they gave all that footage to Michael Felsher, and he basically crafted a documentary from it. So it's good. I like it. It really seems like it should be packaged. Maybe one day there'll be another release of the film Effects with After Effects with it. A whole bunch of extras on this, first of which is a commentary by director-editor Michael Felsher, who I know, not personally, but I know from his work with Red Shirt Pictures. It's a logo you'll see at the end of a ton of Blu-ray and DVD special features. That's what his company does. Short documentaries about the makings of films and interviews and supplementary material and stuff like that. He talks about his history with George Romero, his history with film. He talks a lot about his father, which is rather interesting and insightful and touching, and how he was a person who worked in the world of conveying stories visually in the corporate arena, and how that came into play, and that sort of informed Michael Felsher's technique on how he tells stories, and the making of this documentary and the movie Effects. I love, for some reason, I love commentaries on documentaries. You'd think a documentary would tell all there is to say, but I love the background of, you know, how this whole thing got put together and why the choices that were made and all that. So that's great. There's an extended George Romero interview. Felsher says he felt like he didn't want to make it Romero-centric when it was really about these other people who made Effects, but you get a lot more from that Romero interview as a supplement, and it's great. Romero is just such a cool, laid-back guy and pretty candid about, you know, his history and things like that. You get deleted scenes and outtakes, and the Romero interview is about 10 minutes. Looking at the notes, the deleted scenes and outtakes are about 21 minutes, so you get even more stories about the making of this film and about that film collective and just that scene at the time. You get screening highlights. Effects was screened at the Andy Warhol Museum, or the Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh, somewhere around 2005, which is when this documentary dates from. And you get to see Felsher and one of the guys behind, I think the producer and one of the stars of Effects, talking, you know, before the screening, and then some discussion after the screening. And then you get the original trailer that was made for Effects for its DVD release from Synapse back in, I guess would have been around 2005. So this is a really good package. If you're a Romero fan, it's very much worth looking into. If you're a fan of the movie Effects, it's very much worth looking into. And I guess if you have an interest in independent film of that time and place, it's worth a look. But again, probably means a lot more if you've seen the movie Effects. So available now on Blu-ray from Red Shirt Pictures, Red Shirt Home Video. I'm actually legit really excited to see what else Red Shirt puts out on this label, because Red Shirt is top of the line as far as video supplements go. So I want to see what their full-length stuff. Will it be more expansions of documentaries that have already been done and released on other video formats? Will it be original films? What'll it be? I look forward to finding out. And Diabolic DVD, great independent video company that I wholeheartedly recommend and support. Cool to see that they are releasing things on their own label too. So I'm very excited about that, because they put out a lot of the kind of stuff that I like. Weird indie horror, cult, foreign art house, oddball stuff. So Red Shirt Pictures, bravo, congratulations. Can't wait to see more on Blu-ray now. After Effects, Memories of Pittsburgh Filmmaking.